Hello, welcome back to Thirst Time. In this episode, I'm reviewing Zone of Interest. I believe it's doing quite well. I think it's been nominated for a handful of Oscars. It's the second film I've seen relating to the Holocaust from Poland in the last year. The other film I saw was Philippe. Philippe had a lot more going for it. It was really a story with a main character and a journey and a lot of human interactions. This film that I'm reviewing, Zone of Interest, is not like that at all. It doesn't obey by those rules and it doesn't fit in a box. And I really loved the boldness of the filmmaker that just did it. And your brain knows how to make it make sense and piece it all together, and it completely worked. So, Zone of Interest does not fit into any box. To elaborate on that, when the film opens, the screen goes blank, and there's just this music or sound or sounds, I should say. There's like three different sounds going around in circles at the same time, all over each other, and I enjoyed it because it felt mesmerizing, but I couldn't tell whether it was good or bad, disturbing or comforting. It was mesmerizing. The sound for the opening of the movie is fantastic, but basically it's a blank screen for maybe 2 minutes. It just gets you in this humdrum of, like the life of a washing machine cycle is just kind of really like mundane and repetitive. So it kind of sets that scene, and then later on in the film, it will cut to scenes. It will cut to a nature shot close up. It will cut to a color. It will cut to the present day, and then go completely back, and not necessarily have a correlation. It makes its statement, and it shows you. But this movie is not trying to hold your hand. So while there are some main characters, and it's focused on the family, it's not really about their personal development. It's really like if you were a fly on the wall watching. While the film treats the Holocaust, and it is basically set right next to a main extermination factory, for lack of a better term, literally right next door. You can see it in most of the scenes. The film is not going out of its way to depict what they went through or their destruction. It's really about the next door neighbors, how they go about their life, and how some of them are just loving their privileges of everyday life. It's not like a Schindler's List where, you go face to face with the characters that are meeting their impending death, and you understand all the relationships that are going to be broken, and you're really saddened by it. This film is completely different. It's showing you how life would have been. Like, it's such a bizarre period of history and a bizarre position. We are taught about World War II. How could they do that? We're knowing history, looking back at it, but this film is like, well, while it was happening, they were going about living their everyday lives. So in that way, the extermination of the Jews is made to be so banal from the perspective of these characters that live right next door to the factory. And that is a whole different level of disturbing that you wouldn't get from a Schindler's List or one of those sorts of films. We do get to see one person in charge of exterminating Jews. And there are little moments there where it shows the character decay. There are moments where we see a bit of cruelty among some of the family members living next door to the extermination factory. And, during their everyday lives, because they're right next door, you do hear gunshots, you do hear people screaming from time to time. And at night time, you do see the sky lit red because there's the incinerator right next door taking place. The main characters that live right next door, approved citizens under Hitler, they have to shut all that out. You see the self centeredness of the mother. You see small acts of just normal cruelty that would happen between kids, the bigger kid showing the power over the younger one, which you get everywhere. But just piecing these things together, you kind of see elements of a level of decay, character decay. In this way, we're just watching everyday life, and you get some really good insights into the cold hard business of exterminating Jews, how they did it, what the numbers were like, the numbers that came, for example, from Hungary into this was Auschwitz, the number that would be sorted through just like almost speaking like cattle, or like you order you're a shop and you order like 500 t-shirts from a factory. What are you going to do with them? Literally like that. And yeah, it really goes into the dehumanization. I think it really talks about you know, what the human mind, how it reacts to such horror. And that movie kind of puts you in that space where it's just business as usual, it's every day going on, you know that's happening. And because you're the spectator watching it, you're just thinking, oh yeah, the boy is playing with his ball, the wife wants to go on a holiday, her mum's coming to visit, and all meanwhile all that's kind of in your face happening in the background, just there, but in the background. It kind of shows you how your mind does shut off from it. It's a really interesting essay into how dehumanization works. During this time, the Jews of Europe were subjected to the most cruel conditions and were dehumanized and treated like rats, utterly disgusting. And the rest of the people around saw it in a different way and were kind of unaware of it, really. They didn't see and know everything that we know today. Like, what else is there going on today? Like, you know, we all would have bought and will probably continue to buy, example, clothing. We're very happy that we purchase some clothing or whatever we do, and we don't think about, was this made in a sweatshop? What are their living conditions? The people that had to make this, what conditions are they subject to? Who rules over them? How are their working conditions treated? How is their society? How are we, you know, perpetuating this cycle that keeps them in their horrible place and us in our comfortable place? You know, wars happen over there, or we can blame the other side, or we can do our part, save a plastic bag to wash our hands of our sins, so to speak. Not meaning to be so moralistic about it, but it's kind of like, you know, during the day going to a climate change protest, at nighttime wanting to purchase or needing a new telephone because your phone died with a lithium battery because needs. It's just something that we all do. It's not trying to make it relative to the extermination of the Jews. It's about dehumanization and how we might know it's there, but we choose, or not even necessarily like a conscious choice. It's just the way our human condition is. We don't see it, and we focus on the joys. Great! I love how everything at Kmart or IKEA is so cheap, and I can just redo my house. Oh, I'm so thankful I live in such a great country where I can buy all these things made in, you know, X, Y, or Z country. There are parallels there, and all I can say is, you know, like, you're lucky till you're lucky, and then you're not. I'm sure the Jews of Germany or of Europe lived fabulous, fantastic lives pre the wars. Overnight, it changes. It happens throughout history. It can happen again. I think it's really important to remember the world is an unfair place, and there's a lot under our nose. And there we go. You know, like people say, never again. How could it happen? But now, yeah, hopefully this movie kind of gives some insight into how it happened and how it happens. And of course, we hope it never happens again. Thank you so much for watching this video. To come back to Zone of Interest, I would rate it highly for the sound. It's really interesting. I would rate it highly for being different. It's still disturbing, not really in a overt way, but in a very subtle way. So in a subtle way, it is disturbing. So I'm still kind of like dealing with my trauma right now. It's really important to not be ignorant, if only for the benefit of being more grateful, because things are put into perspective. Okay, well, that was quite heavy. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know your thoughts. If you get to see the film, if you've seen similar films that you'd recommend as well, that would be great. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.